Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Wangzilla channel. This is Will, and real quick video here on doing a USB amperage voltage test. Have you ever plugged in your phone and it seems like it's charging real slow, or you have USB ports in your car, or in a USB surge protector or something like that, or got one of these battery backups to charge your devices here, and you're like, my phone's charged real slow, or you just have no idea what kind of voltage you should be getting, and maybe trying to isolate, is it a bad cable, is your device not configured properly, or you got some other problems. So I picked up this little device here off of Amazon. I'm gonna link it in the description, and this one is, I don't know, there's a million different ones, but this one I have here is a KJKG device, and this does USB-C and then the traditional USB. As you can see here, it's got the male standard USB, it's got a female standard USB input, and then it's got USB-C, male and female, and then also has a port for a micro USB, but it does not really accurately test that. That's actually, you have to put in almost like a key, which is this little thing they include, and when you plug this in, it'll actually enable the USB testing for the USB-C ports. So without that, you won't get accurate readings, so you have to make sure you put this key in for USB-C testing, and then you take it out when you want to do the USB, the traditional port test. And I'll go ahead and we'll test some ports here in the house off this battery backup, and then also in a couple of my cars, just to kind of show you what kind of results you should expect, and how accurate this thing is, if it is accurate. I've had it for a few months, haven't really used it a ton, just to verify a few things, but so far it seems like it works for me. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll start it down with a surge protector that I have that has a number of USB ports here, and it says these are 5 volt 2.4 amps. And the big thing about testing these is you can plug the device in, and if you don't have a load on it, it will not really read any kind of amperage because there's no current flow or anything like that. So you have to have a load on here, and I can show you what that looks like a number of different ways here. And we'll kind of scoop in there, and as you can see here, it's reading 4.96 volts, which is what it registers. It says it should be about 5 volts, so that's relatively close, but 0 amps. And that is because there's no load here. And they do provide this little load device that plugs in on the other end, and it gives you a load so you can actually get some current flow here and test how much current you are getting. So I'll go ahead and plug this. Now be careful with this thing, it does get hot. So, and it does have some toggle switches here, and so right now it's off, and so we have no load. And then you can adjust the resistance here, and so now I toggled it up, looks like to the 4.7 ohm, and you're only pulling 1 amp. Turn that off, and I'll do the 2.2 ohm, and you're getting about 2.2. And then if you do both, you get the full 2.6-ish amps, which is a little bit more than what this thing reads. But this thing is made in China, looks relatively not super expensive, so I'm not sure how durable this thing and how long you should be putting a load into this load resistor here. But so this does confirm that I am getting my at least 2.4 amps off of this port. And we'll move to the other one. This one should get the same. And there are a number of toggle switches. There's a button right here, and you can go through a number of settings and overcurrent protection and some other stuff if you want to play with that. So you would want to look at the little data sheet for that, which is this thing right here. It has a number of different settings and stuff like that. So yeah, so that does show that at least with the load resistor device, we are able to pull over 2.4 amps, and it is pretty warm. Now, if you want to test how much this is actually putting out with an actual device plugged into the port, I have some plugs here, and here is a USB plug And on the other end, it has a USB-C. This is actually from my Xbox Elite. And we'll go ahead and plug in my S21 Ultra. It's already fully charged, so let's see if that actually does anything. And because it is fully charged, it is only pulling 0.3 amps. A lot of these USB and phones will actually, once charged, you will not still pull the full amount of amperage. I'm gonna go ahead and get a different phone and plug it in and see if I get some similar results. All right, I have my S21 Ultra and then my old One Plus, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug this one in. It has been broken and not used for quite a while, so it should be completely dead. All right, it's detected it. And it's powering on. And then we'll look of what it wants to draw. So it looks like it's only registering 0.6 amps. It looks like it does have some battery. And you know, it's not really saying, but with this plug, it's only able to provide 0.6 amps. Now, like I said, this is a plug from my Xbox Elite controller. So it's not really a charger plug other than charging the Xbox Elite controller. So we'll go ahead and switch it over to testing through this actual plug, which is an actual device here for charging, specifically super fast charging plug for my S21 Plus. And I'm gonna put it in line here. And it is a USB-C port, so you're gonna want to use the USB-C indicator plug. And that goes into that little keyed spot here. And I'm gonna try plugging this in. There we go. And it sits in like that. And then you're gonna want to take the input and insert it in there. And then I'm going to take the other end of my plug, plug it in here, and then I'll plug this into my phone. And it is pulling very little amperage because it is full. And we'll plug it in this one. And it looks like it's pulling 1.86 amps on the LG. And of course that charger box, I think, has technology specifically made for the S21, the Galaxy series, not for the One Plus, which has its own supercharging mode. But you can see this does read what amperage your devices are pulling. So it really gives you a good idea of, you know, help you troubleshoot. You got a bad cord, you have a bad charger box, you have phone issues, a million different things. Back on the desk here, I'm trying to burn up a little bit of battery from my phone here, running a 3D Mark test of some sort. And I've noticed with this battery pack, at least I've had this thing for a few years, it seems like it charges really slow my devices. I mean, it charges it, but it's really, really slow. So I was like, okay, you know, maybe I can find out what's going on here. It has a USB-C port, and it's got these two other ports. They should be all charging at a relatively decent speed, and the little manual kind of gives you an idea of what the ports are, because there is a USB 2 port, USB-C port, and USB 1 port, and of course it's in like 15 different languages. Here we go. And it should be able to do, you know, 5 volt 2 amp, 9 volt 2 amp, 12 volt 1.5 amp. The USB-C should be doing 5 volt 3 amp. And then the other USB ports, you know, they should be doing these values here indicated. And let's see if my phone here, I'm gonna do a stress test, help burn up some of this battery. And yeah, so I've just noticed this thing, you know, it's 100% battery, and I'm gonna go ahead and plug this into the USB-C. So let's see what kind of, so it's reading 5 volt, you know, 0 amps. Turn that light off, you can see a little better. 5 volt, 0 amps. Of course, nothing's plugged in yet. And then I will plug this into my phone. And it's reading 5 volts, 1.16 amps, which is not enough to kick in supercharging mode. And so the phone, you know, charges, but not very well. And so yeah, we can go ahead and test the other ports. So I'll have to remove the USB-C plug, and then I can plug it into one of the other 2 USB traditional plugs. And since this phone is mostly full here, I will use the load resistor just to see what kind of voltage we can get with the load resistor. And so it looks like it pulls, you know, almost 5 volts, over 3 amps off of this port, and that's with both resistances enabled. And we'll check the other port, and the same deal, over 3 amps. But when I have a phone plugged in here, I don't know if it's the logic in the charging and how it communicates with it, but it does not pull the full 3 amps. Now I have this older phone here, and I'm gonna get my plugs. This is a traditional to USB-C. And of course, doing this one-handed, a little trickier. And I'm plugging in the OnePlus 7 Pro, and it pulls about 0.67 amps, 5 volts still. It does show it charging, but it's not doing the OnePlus, you know, it's not activating the circuitry for the mega charging, whatever they call it. So we'll jump it over to here. Just hit a button here. And sorry, the screen's a little bit smaller, but it's 0.7 amps. .17 wattage. As you can see, there's a bunch of cool settings you can do. You can see the watt, pole, amperage, volts, and other stuff. So yeah, that shows us that, you know, this can put out over 3 amps, but some of the devices, circuitry or the cabling, can't actually enable the right circuitry to enable that voltage. We're gonna go ahead and head out to the cars, and we'll check out a couple cars and see what the built-in USB ports in the cars are capable of producing. So we'll check the USB ports that I added to the Exploder, and you know, see what kind of voltage. This is just a cigarette lighter adapter with 2 USB ports, and then this one is the Android Auto Apple CarPlay port. This one, I believe the car has to be on for this to work, and I have the car plugged into a battery charger right now, and I have wires all over the motor, so I don't want to mess with that. So I will just go ahead and, just for demonstration, show that this, which is lit up, kind of see, you know, if this thing is able to read it, and what kind of voltages this is putting out. So I'll go ahead and plug that in. And then I'll have to add the load resistor, and we'll play with the loads. And it looks like the USB port is capable of putting out with the correct load on it. You know, every device will be different, but it is pushing about 3 amps. So that is showing me that the USB port's working good, and it should be able to fast charge the phone if it has the right interface and circuitry to work with this USB charger. And of course, I believe the bottom one is the same, but you gotta flip it upside down, you won't be able to read the screen. So, but anyways, so that's confirming that, you know, this USB thing is hot, works good, you know, if you don't have a lit up one like this, and tells you what you should expect for voltage and amperage for your devices, and what kind of devices you can power, and how quickly your stuff should charge. Now, I'll go ahead and jump over to my Nissan, the Beastzilla, and we'll see that one has some ports in it as well. And this has, my wife has a cigarette lighter adapter type thing, kind of an ugly big one. And this has a built-in plug. And from what I recall, I believe this one has to be, the car has to be on for this. Oh no, this is a very low output port. I'll have to check the manual what the actual amperage for this thing is, but right now I'm pulling 1.15. If I try to give it to the full load, it won't even come on. And yeah, it only comes on with the 2.2 ohm load. And so it tells me it's probably a very low powered USB port. I think it's for maybe just pushing music and stuff to the radio, and not full, like a high speed charger. So it's only pulling 1.13 amps, which is not very good. Now, of course, we have the full power cigarette lighter here, which you know, you should be able to tap into here. Let's see what we got. Now this, I believe the car actually has to be on for the cigarette lighter here to be enabled. So I'll go ahead and give it some power, and you can see it lights up. And it's 1 amp with the 2.2 ohm. And with the other setup, it can pull about 2.6 amps, which is, you know, fairly common, and it should be enough for fast charging if you have the right device that will talk to this properly. And we'll head back inside. I would do the Z01, but unfortunately the way those plugs are in there, it's kind of awkward to get to it to actually fit this device. That's one of the things you have to take into consideration. If you have a real tight area interface that this thing needs to get into, you may need an extension cable, kind of like a male to female, 1-to-1, where you can plug this in and then plug that into the port and let you put this in, you know, more easily observable area. But really, I just want to kind of show that, you know, a device like this, you know, relatively inexpensive. There's even cheaper ones and more expensive ones that can do even more stuff. These things are, you know, pretty cool, pretty useful, you know, to help you troubleshoot. You know, has your cable gone bad? Has your dog eaten your, you know, the cable? Is your port itself bad, or, you know, not putting out what you expect? Then you can actually troubleshoot that and, you know, help you really isolate problem areas and figure out, you know, what's going on. And it can really, you know, if you want to just verify if you should be fast charging or not, and this will confirm, you know, what kind of wattage, amperage, voltage, all that good stuff, all for relatively cheap. So yeah, we'll wrap it up. Real simple video. Hopefully this is useful for some people. Feel free to subscribe, and as always, peace.